All right, let's go to the mayor of Chicago right now. Lori Lightfoot has been on our show before, taking the time out of her busy schedule to join us right now. The Waddle and Silvy Show with Waddle Out. Lori, how you feeling today? How's everything going?
I'm good, Silvy. How are you?
I'm great. First of all, how was Lollapalooza, and can you tell us about the deal that you've extended with Lollapalooza?
Look, I think all things considered, it was a pretty phenomenal weekend. You obviously couldn't ask for better weather. I've been to Lolla back in the day when it was broiling hot or when they were worried about a torrential downpour. The weather was perfect. I think the fans had a phenomenal time. I was there last night. I will just say that the J-Hope Army was well represented. And Green Day fans, they put on a great show. So I think it started strong and ended strong.
And then it seems like it's worked out with a new agreement in place for future years for Chicago?
Correct. We start with a base with Lolla, and then frankly, when they succeed, we succeed, meaning we get increased revenues when they make more money. So I think it's a very good deal. We spent a lot of time making sure that we were thinking through all the finer points and frankly, really learning a lot from our shared experience and individual experience with the last contract. But I think this really inures to the benefit of the city. If the past is prologue, this 10-year renewal could mean $4 billion and financial impact to the city.
Wow. Mayor Lori Lightfoot joining us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. You know the reason why we call you, why we ask for you is because of the Soldier Field plans being dome ready. What was the reaction overall? Did you like the reaction that you got from your press conferences and from all the mock-ups?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the response has been overwhelmingly positive. And obviously keeping in mind that this is in the context of a larger plan for reimagining the museum campus. But I like the options. I've been thinking about this for quite some time, both before and all the conversation around the Bears. We just need to do a better job of making Soldier Field a year-round destination. And I think one of the three options all of those three options really gives us that tremendous opportunity. But Soldier Field remains, as we saw this weekend from Lolla, an incredibly sought-after venue for sports, for music, and for other forms of entertainment. And we've got to maximize the visitor and customer experience. There's a lot of untapped potential that isn't captured in the current configuration of Soldier Field. So I look forward to moving ahead. Meanwhile, we're going to start executing as soon as we possibly can on the larger plan to really activate the entirety of the museum campus. Given what an iconic jewel the museum campus is overall, it shouldn't require people to have a high-price ticket to be able to go to that campus and really enjoy it. And so I think the recommendations of the working group were fantastic. We had, I think, some of the most creative minds in Chicago that were part of that effort. And I look forward to executing on the recommendations.
Mayor Lightfoot, the one thing that drives me crazy as a guy who has lived in the city for 20 years and has gone to a lot of Bears games is the accessibility. While Dome Ready is cool and I like, but whether I'm leaving from State Lake to get off at 18th Street, whether I'm going Columbus or I'm going Lakeshore Drive, it could take me 45 minutes from the city, whether it's from Ukrainian Village, whether it's getting out of there and making people go south if they want to go north, whether it's pedestrians who have to be weaved through a maze to walk a few blocks to get to the L. How are you going to fix all of that?
Well, one of the reasons why we had a lot of transportation experts at the table as part of the working group was exactly that. As somebody who's been going to Bears games and other events at Soldier Field for 30 years, I agree with you 1,000%. It is a daunting experience just to get in the place where you got to make sure that you leave hours beforehand to be there by kickoff. That doesn't make any sense. So we are working on very specific plans to minimize the transportation hassle that visitors have. Those plans aren't fully baked yet, but it is a big point of focus. There was a subcommittee of the working group that specifically focused on enhancing the ability to get in and out of Soldier Field in a timely fashion. Because I'm right there with you, man. It's a hassle right now, and we've got to change that.
You mentioned in your press conference that you can't speak a lot to the Bears right now because of their agreement with Arlington Heights. If they would move to finalize this deal and there's no way you can end up selling them on this, would you still proceed with these plans?
So, look, I think that there's an absolutely compelling financial reason for the Bears to stay at Soldier Field. When you think about what the recent prices have been from brand new stadiums, whether it's SoFi or the stadium in Las Vegas, you're talking about, at minimum, right now in today's dollars, a $4 billion tag. That's a lot of money. And you have to wonder whether or not the current Bears organization even has the resources to pull that kind of financing together. And as you know, there's not a huge appetite for a fully financed or even majority financed public option. I think that the Bears have to look at this. I know that they, frankly, are looking at it seriously. We're going to be talking to the NFL as well. But look, if they stay or they go, and I hope that they stay, and we're doing everything we can to keep them. As I said, Soldier Field remains a very sought-after venue. And look, the lawyer in me says you got to have Plan B, Plan C. We have other options. We're talking to other potential long-term tenants. But again, our first priority is to keep the Bears in Soldier Field.
What would you say to me if I counter you saying that, hey, it's going to be $4 or $5 billion for the Bears? We don't know even if the Bears have that money. What if I say, well, how are you going to pay for this as a city? Does the city have this money?
Well, I think that there's a lot of, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I certainly don't want to negotiate in public, but our finance team has been scrubbing these numbers for months now, and I think there's a range of options that we can offer the Bears today that will get them the resources that they need. Obviously, they want to maximize revenues. They want to be at a tier 1 level in NFL parlance to make sure that they're maximizing the financial opportunities for the stadium. I think we can get them there, but we got to have a willing partner.
Would you would you ever be willing to sell Soldier Field to the Bears?
Look, that's not something that we have considered. Obviously, the Soldier Field is an iconic icon for the city, but I think there's a way that we can get them to the level that they want without having to take that extreme measure of selling it. Some people obviously said, just sell it to them, be done with it. I don't think that that's a smart play for the city and our taxpayers in the long term, but we can get them to the economic place that they want to get to in a lot of other ways.
Even though Pat Quinn has stepped up and he said he wants to block naming right. You laughed.
I do laugh.
Okay, so explain why. I'm not in the political circles here, and because he says you cannot sell naming rights because of the war memorial for World War I veterans that Soldier Field stands for.
Look, obviously, we have looked at all of the legal constraints on doing anything either in Soldier Field or the entire museum campus. This guy shot out of a cannon this, we're going to block it, without even really looking and knowing the particulars. Typical par for the course for Pat Quinn. We're very well aware of what our rights and constraints are. I think there's a lot of other ways in which we can, as I said, get to the dollar amount and revenue that the Bears are looking for. I'm not worried about what some gadfly is talking about.
All right, this is a lot of what Waddle and I talk about. We want to know this, and you mentioned talking to the NFL. Is there any possibility that the Bears do leave, that Chicago can get a second NFL team?
Well, look, again, my primary focus is on keeping the team that we have. But you're aware there are cities across the country that have two NFL teams. The two largest markets in the TV markets in the country, New York and LA, both have two NFL teams. We're the third largest market in the country. So I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility. But as I said, there's a number of other options that we are also pursuing.
So, because some people have said, Mayor Lightfoot, that the Bears have an opportunity to block a second team. Do you know if that's still the case?
We've heard that, and we're looking at that. But, my hope that if the Bears decide, which I think would be the wrong decision, to leave Chicago, don't burn the bridge down on your way out.
I've got to ask you, so about a year ago, and we've mentioned this on the show as well, you came out blazing on the Bears and I get it because we're all frustrated at the Bears. And you told them in a statement, and like most Bears fans, we want the organization to focus on putting a winning team on the field, beating the Packers finally, and being relevant part of past October. Everything else is noise. Do you regret not being more serious about this earlier?
No, I was serious about it then, but I also think that's true. You know this as well as I do, how the economics of sports work. If you don't have a winning product on the field, you can't put butts in seats. It's as simple as that. The economics tell it. And I thought it was strange that they made the announcement when they made it at a time when the team was really struggling on the field. That just didn't make any sense to me. That's obviously their judgment as to the timing, the content of what they say. But Bears fans are hungry for a winning team, a great team, a team with a great quarterback, a good line, the kind of defense that Chicago historically has been known for. We want to be relevant. We want to be a playoff contending team. And I say we, and I'm channeling, I think, the sentiment of Bears sports fans for a long time. We don't want to be owned by the Packers or any other team in our division or any other team in the NFL. We want to be the team that historically has pounded other teams into the turf and made a strong statement every single time we took the field. That's what we as fans want. And when you have that kind of winning success on the field, the financial success follows.
I get it. And I'm as frustrated as anybody. And I bitch and moan about it on the radio every single day. Waddle gets tired of hearing it. But what if someone would say to you, I would think you would be offended, Mayor Lightfoot, if someone would say to you, look, we got crime issues. We've got teaching issues. We've got other things to worry about except the team. Isn't that what you're basically telling the Bears? Win first, then worry about your home? Wouldn't that be like me telling you, hey, worry about the crime, worry about our teachers, and then worry about sports?
No, I think you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And believe me, Silvy, people lob those bombs my direction every single day. It goes with the territory. When you are a leader, you have to be able to play a multi-dimensional game of chess. And it's the same thing with any kind of business. And obviously, the Bears are business. They're a unique and I think special kind of business, but they're business bottom line. And so it's hard to get the fan base and taxpayers to rally around a cause when they're not feeling like the product on the field is as strong as possible. I think there's nothing but upside for the Bears to stay in the city of Chicago. And we are willing, obviously, to partner with them to get them to the revenue levels that they want. And frankly, that'll be in the best interest of our taxpayers. But we also have to have a product on the field that makes people proud, that makes people really enthusiastic to be Bears fans, not long suffering, but feeling like the team is headed in the right direction.
Let me ask you about Dome Ready, because I love the phrase. I want to make T-shirts. I just think it's a good general state of mind to be Dome Ready. But what does Dome Ready mean, Mayor Lightfoot, as far as going halfway? I looked at the plans. What would putting up the columns be without the dome? Why do it halfway?
Well, look, it really comes down to the matter of who is the tenant and what are their specific needs and what is their ability to partner with us on the finances that are going to be necessary to put a dome on Soldier Field. That's a big, costly deal. And again, with the right anchor tenant, we're absolutely willing to do what's necessary to engage stakeholders and talk about what the finances associated with that are. But we also feel like we ought to preserve our options. And Dome Ready means making sure that the columns support is there to support a dome down the road in the event that the primary tenant isn't interested in pursuing a dome.
Is there any thought in your mind, Mayor Lightfoot, about if the Bears do leave, just keeping it as is and signing up as much college football as possible and making the most money the city can make?
Well, obviously there was a college football game last fall between Wisconsin and Notre Dame that brought in huge amounts of interest. And I think not only great revenue for the Park District, but the larger financial impact on the city with hotel rooms, restaurants. I mean, the city was alive. I was getting, I happened to actually be out of town that weekend on a family matter, but I was getting text messages, phone messages from people who are here in Chicago, but also folks that came in from out of town that just had a phenomenal time. I think that weekend hasn't gone unnoticed by others, and particularly the Big Ten. This is a great college football town. There's tons of alumni that are here in Chicago and Chicagoland. So I think the opportunities there are really important. And now with the Big Ten deciding that it's going to be from sea to shining sea, I think the possibilities of bringing in those kind of high-profile games that generate a lot of fan interest and generate a lot of TV and other revenue, there's a lot of upside there.
All right.
So,
and I'm sorry, as we let you go, what's the next step here, Mayor Lightfoot?
Well, I think there's a lot more conversations that we have to have, both at the NFL level and others who are interested in NFL football here in Chicago. But the immediate next step is really executing on the larger vision for changing the topography of the museum campus and really making it an open and welcoming place, regardless of whether or not you got a ticket to go into one of our great museums. We want to make this a year-round venue. You asked me a second part of the last question. There's a lot of unused space within Soldier Field that we can capture to not only enhance the fan experience, but enhance revenues. And I think we do that no matter what the decision is that the Bears make.
Yep. We don't always agree, but I do appreciate you calling and talking to us about that, informing our fans what you're thinking. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Silvy. Take care.
There you go. There's Mayor Lightfoot, Lori Lightfoot.